Hello, this is Bill Bullard with RCAF USA, the voice of the independent cattle producer in the United States of America. Well, during the last segment, we talked to you about a behind-the-scenes story of a country of origin labeling article that was published in the Washington Post. For this segment, I'd like to talk to you about a behind-the-scenes story of the beef checkoff lawsuit that we're presently involved in. So we just recently learned that the U.S. Department of Agriculture, or USDA, is refusing to use Montana ranchers' checkoff dollars to promote beef. And obviously that's what the entire program is supposed to be doing. So here's a story that demonstrates the beef checkoff program is simply generating far more money than it actually needs. We go back to June 2016 and we filed a lawsuit in federal court alleging that the U.S. Department of Agriculture was violating the constitutional rights of Montana cattle ranchers. They were doing this by compelling those ranchers to subsidize the private speech of a private corporation. That corporation was the Montana Beef Council. The USDA was allowing the Montana Council to siphon off half of all monies that Montana cattle producers were required to pay under the mandatory beef checkoff program, and then to use that money to pay for the council's private speech. We argued it was unconstitutional for the federal government to tax Montana ranchers and then allow a private corporation to use those taxes to fund private speech that the ranchers in fact disagreed with. We also argued that not only was the Montana Beef Council subsidizing its own private speech with the checkoff taxes collected from ranchers, but it was also sending hundreds of thousands of dollars to the National Cattlemen's Beef Association. And it was doing that to fund that organization's private speech. And the NCBA's speech was supporting the consolidation of the U.S. cattle industry, which is something RCAF USA vehemently opposes. Well, the federal district court agreed with us, and on June 21st of 2017, the court ordered the USDA to stop violating the Constitution by ordering it to not allow the Montana Beef Council to use ranchers' checkoff money to fund its private speech without first obtaining the ranchers' consent. This order gave Montana ranchers a choice as to where they want their money to be spent. For those who wanted the private beef council to continue spending their money, they could choose to do so. However, for those who did not want a private corporation that was expressing private speech, that was not accountable to the ranchers, and which included sending money to the NCBA, they could choose to have all of their money go to the federal checkoff program, where it would be used to promote and market and research beef. At the federal level, the money is required to be used to fund beef promotion and research, and it does so under the supervision of the federal government. The federal government, at least theoretically, is subject to democratic accountability because groups like RCAF USA, for example, can lobby public officials to influence how producers' dollars are spent. Now, this is something that we cannot do if our members don't agree with the actions of a private corporation. So in Montana, a large number of ranchers have chosen not to fund the private corporation, and all of their money was sent to the federal level for beef promotion, research, and marketing. At least that's what was supposed to be happening. However, last week we learned that the USDA is actually refusing to use the money collected from Montana ranchers who chose to have their money go to the federal checkoff program to promote beef. They're refusing to use it for that purpose. Instead, the USDA is putting those ranchers' money in a separate account, which the Montana Beef Council reportedly said was a savings account, and it refuses to use that money to fund beef promotion, marketing, or research. In other words, though the government mandates that producers must pay into the checkoff, the government is choosing not to use the money that producers have redirected from private corporations to the federal program to carry out the purposes of the beef checkoff program. Now, this is a sad commentary on the part of our U.S. Secretary of Agriculture, who is trying to undermine the constitutional choices of independent cattle producers who are simply tired of the misuse of their checkoff dollars. It's a good thing we're litigating this issue, as perhaps the independent U.S. court system will be less influenced by the lobbying dollars that are clearly calling the shots in Washington, D.C. So with all of this talk by checkoff advocates that the dollar just doesn't go far enough, and we need to increase the checkoff dollars so we can carry out beef promotion, marketing, and research, how does that square with the fact that the government is squirreling money away as a result of our lawsuit? With that, we're out of time. We hope you have a productive week. Thank you and goodbye.